All right, guys. So this is the review for the interim. This is first part, question 1 to 16. We're starting with the complex numbers. Use this graph to the right for question 1 to 2. This is hard to see, but this is point A here. This is point B here. This is point C here. And this is point D. Okay. So 3i, again, remember y-axis represents imaginary. And this is real. Okay. So that means which point represents the complex number 3i. So simply we are going to go up here. 1, 2, 3. And this is going to be B. So point B represents 3i because we don't have a real part. So real part is 0. Okay. Now which point represents the complex numbers negative 2 plus 5i. So again, this is real. This is imaginary. So negative 2 is going to be on the x-axis right here. And 5i is going to be on a y-axis. So I'm going to go up 5. So it's going to be point A. Okay. Now, what is the conjugate of negative 4i minus 3? Again, the conjugate is the opposite the opposite imaginary part. So first, we got to put it into a standard form, which is a plus bi. So that's going to be negative 3 minus 4i. And now, again, the conjugate will be the opposite real part. So it's going to be negative 3 plus 4i. So the only thing we're changing is the negative and positive for the I. All right. So we just going to simplify our radicals. So again, a reminder that negative underneath the radical indicates I. So I'm going to simplify it 72. 70 simplified the square root itself. It's 6. Of course, I goes in the middle. Root 2, okay? Because 72, it's simplified to 36 times 2. And you can take a square root of 36, which is 6. I root 2. Okay, number 5, I got a negative 8 in the front, and I got, again, an I on the outside. So I can rewrite that as negative 8 root 96i. And I'm going to simplify 96. 96 is simplified to 60. Oops, sorry. It's simplified to 4 root 6i. Okay. Now, remember, what's happening between negative 8 and 4? We multiply, okay? 96 was simplified to simply 16 times 6, okay? And now we're going to multiply negative 8 times 4, so that's going to be negative 32. Of course, I stays in between the radical and the real number, and then root 6, okay? Now, lastly, right here, we have a 1/2. Again, this negative underneath the radical for 36 represents I, so it's going to be 36i. Then we're going to simplify, 1/2 carries over, simplify 36 to 6i. Again, remember there's a multiplication between 1/2 and 6, so if they simplified 1/2 times 6, it's simply 3i. So it's going to be answer D. Again, anytime you need to write things down, please pause it. All right, now we have a cube root here. Cubing a negative 5i. So remember that when you have a cube, outside the parentheses, you're going to apply it to both the negative 5 and the I. So we're going to cube the negative 5 and we're going to cube the I, okay? Negative 5 cubed, it's negative 125. Make sure that you're putting that in the parentheses right here in the calculator to make sure you get the correct signs. And I cube, it's I cubed. Now we remember that I to the 0 power was 1, I to the first power was I squared was negative 1, and I cubed was negative I. So we can replace this negative cube, that I cube, with negative I, okay? Now, negative 125 times negative I, negative times negative will make it a positive, so your answer is going to be 125i. Okay? All right, now question 8. You have a negative 1/2 I to a power of 204. So to minimize this power, we're going to divide it by 4, which is our quarter method. If you divide 204 by 4, you get 51, which is no decimals. So again, remember, I to a 0 power is 1. I to a first power is I squared, it's negative 1, and I cubed is negative I. So now we're replacing this big I to a 204, negative 1/2 carries over with I to a 0 power. Now I to a 0 power, as we know, it is 1, so we can replace that with a 1, which your answer is just going to be negative 1/2. And then lastly, we're going to divide 95 into 4. That's going to be 2375, which is 3/4. This tells us, this decimal tells us 3/4. That means I can replace I to a 95 with I cubed. Of course, 3 will carry over. Now we know that I cubed is negative I. So again, I can replace that with negative I right here. Now 3 times negative I is going to be negative 3I. Again, positive, you need to write it down. All right, question 10. Simply a box method here. So I'm going to do a box method right here. I got negative 2, I got negative 4i, I got negative 6, and I got negative 4i. So again, you're multiplying it. This is positive 12. Negative 6 times negative 4, it's positive 24i. This is going to be positive 8i, and negative 4i times negative 4i, it's positive 16i squared. We're going to combine like terms. Of course, these things in the middle, we're combining them. 8i and 24i. So 12 plus 24, 24i plus 8i is 32i. And then plus 16i squared. Remember that I squared is represented by negative 1. So this is going to change the sign to negative 16 now, because I'm multiplying negative 1 times 16. So 32i stays plus 12. Of course, now we're going to combine again like terms. 12 minus 16 is negative 4. Okay, and then plus 32i. And that's your answer. So negative 4 plus 32i is answer C. All right, question 11, we simply distributing. This is not a multiplication. There's a negative in between these parentheses versus here you had a nothing, which is a multiplication. So here we're simply distributing the negative, which means we're going to change the signs on the inside. Okay, so it's negative 18 plus now 9i. We're going to combine like terms. So 17i plus 9i is going to give you 26i. Okay, and then of course you got a 6 and negative 18. That's going to give you negative 12 plus 26i. So negative 12 plus 26i was answer B. Again, positive if you need to. Write down. All right, next one is just simplifying it. So again, plus does not do anything when you distribute it. It doesn't change anything. So we're just dropping the parentheses here. Plus 3 minus 8i. Now the negative will change the sign. So this is going to become a negative 1. And this is going to become a positive I. Now, of course, all you have to do is combine like terms. So 5 plus 3 is 8 minus 1, it's 7. And then 2i minus 8i, it's negative 6i plus I. It's going to be, let me see. I'm sorry. 2i plus I is 3i minus 8i, it's negative 5i. All right, so here again, this 2 does not mean you distribute. It means box method. It means there's 2 of the same things. So 2 minus 4i and 2 minus 4i. Okay, so again, we're going to use a box method to do it. All right, so we're going to use this equation. So 2, negative 4i twice. So this is going to be 4, this is going to be negative 8i, this is going to be negative 8i, and this is going to be positive 16i squared. So again, we're going to combine these. They don't eliminate each other. You add them. So this is going to be 4 minus 16i plus 16i squared. Of course, we replace that with negative 1. So that's 4 now minus 16 minus 16i. And that's going to give me negative 12 minus 16i, which is answer A. All right, question 14 is just simply simplified. So again, we have a multiplication here in the front. So we got to distribute the 2i first. So that's going to be 14i minus 8i squared. And then we got the negative in the front of this parenthesis. We got to distribute, so it's going to be negative 18 plus 3i. I'm going to combine like terms. But first, we have to exchange this I squared with negative 1, which is going to change it to positive 8, okay? Plus 14i minus 18 plus 3i. So D is going to combine to negative 10, and this is going to combine to positive 17i. So that's going to be answer D, okay? All right, number 15 says which expression has the same value. So, of course, we're going to go ahead and calculate what is multiplication in a box method of these two. So this is 36. This is going to be 24i. This is going to be 24i. And this is going to be 16i squared. We're going to combine like terms. So 24 and 24 goes together. So we got 36 plus 48i plus 16i squared. Remember, we always going to replace I squared with negative 1. So that's going to be negative 16, 36, and plus 48i. Of course, we're going to combine these two. 36 minus 16 is 20 plus 48i. Okay? So now, all right, so what does that mean? So looking at our answers, it's definitely not 52. It's definitely not C because their signs are different, and I just multiplied it and they both were pluses. Now, let's see if what is A. And then let's see what is B. So A, simply distribute a negative to change it. So it's 24 plus 30i minus 4 plus 18i. Okay, so again, I'm going to combine like terms. 24 minus 4 is 20. 30i plus 18i is 48i. So it's definitely A for this question. And then it couldn't be B because you got 28 plus 24. That is 52. And it's definitely not 20. Okay. And then the last question for this video, which value for B makes the statement true? So again, I highly recommend to all my students and whoever is watching this video that you first distribute the negative before you start setting anything up. So 8 plus 3i minus 12, now plus bi will equal negative 4 plus 7i. Now I'm going to choose only the I parts of an imaginary and set them up equal to each other. So you got 3i plus bi equals 7i. You're solving for b, so I'm going to move the 3i to the other side. Okay? And then you got bi equals 4i. So, of course, i's will drop, so b equals 4. So your correct answer is B.